The Colombian government and FARC rebels have signed a peace agreement, but there are still obstacles to achieving peace across the country. To start, the deal has to be put to a popular vote in October. And after 5 decades of conflict, not everyone is eager to put the past behind them. The No campaign, led by former President Alvaro Uribe, is protesting the deal that would see people they consider to be war criminals go into government. Well, for more, we spoke to Hector Perla. He's a senior research fellow at the Council on Hemispheric Affairs and an expert on revolutionary movements in Latin America.
The expectation now is that it move forward in terms of smoothly in terms of how they're going to be interacting. Both the guerrillas have agreed to it. They have a process that they need to go through, and the government has a process that it needs to go through, taking the accord to the legislature for a vote, and then October 2nd to a plebiscite after both sides, do their agreement to it. It gets put before the Colombian people. The former president, Alvaro Uribe, he is a huge obstacle to peace in the country. He's been opposed to the signing of the peace agreement or even the negotiation of peace with the guerrillas throughout the whole process, and has done his best to undermine it. And as you mentioned, he's now leading the campaign to have the plebiscite on October 2nd for people to vote no against it. And so that's a very real possibility. He was extremely popular as a president, very savvy politically on how to touch on certain themes that allow the people of Colombia to really get riled up. And one of them is this notion of human rights violations. The ironic part of it is that the majority, about 2/3 of all the human rights violations, were committed by the security forces of the state of Colombia and their allied paramilitaries, which Uribe has been implicated, and his allies have been implicated in those very processes. And so it's ironic that the man that has been most accused of being behind these human rights violations is using that very notion to undermine the peace process. The reason that the FARC became so large and grew to such an extent is because there are some very real problems and issues of vast inequality in the countryside, injustice in the countryside, especially in Colombia, that have gone unaddressed for years, for as long as the Colombian nation has been in existence. The real destabilizing force to the peace process is the No campaign, and the potential for political violence from the right that comes from the Uribe allies. And there's precedent for that. In the 1980s, there was a peace agreement that was put in place between the FARC and the then government, where as the FARC demobilized, thousands of their political activists who became active politically in the electoral process were killed, were systematically hunted down. And so there's precedent for that kind of behavior to try to destabilize this peace process.